Welcome to Family Basics 101. I'm Dr. Bruce McClure, and as we continue with our 5-part series on addictions, today we will talk about the various types of addictions. Addictions, first of all, impede what some would consider healthy or positive energy that is supposed to flow from inside an individual. So regardless of the addiction, it impedes what we consider healthy and positive energy flow that is going to be more productive, number one, for the individual, and secondly, in the society that the individual serves. Addictions are as plentiful as there are cultures and human habits. So there's no such thing as just one addiction. There's no such thing as just one type of addiction. Keep in mind that addictions are as plentiful as there are cultures and human habits. Now, although addictions are common from person to person, the addiction may manifest itself differently from person to person. So there's a multiplicity of addictions, but because each person somehow adapts their own temperament, their own culture, their own style into whatever that addiction might be, it is going to manifest itself differently from person to person, even within a unique culture. So let's talk about the various types of addictions. We could talk about prescribed medication addiction. It's an addiction that sometimes actually flies beyond the radar because it's prescribed. And yet with those prescribed medications, people can actually become addicted to them in a negative way, utilizing the prescribed medication for other reasons than it was prescribed. Children sometimes who are on medication will take their medications and sell those medications to others. So other people will become addicted to a prescription medication that is not their own. There are people who are addicted to power. Power becomes an unhealthy addiction in terms of controlling others. And most people who make the efforts to control others are communicating an addiction to their own out-of-control state. There are people who are addicted to caffeine. They can't go one day without their fix of coffee. If there is an addiction to caffeine, no matter how it is accepted in society, it is still an addiction. There are individuals that are addicted to illegal street drugs, and that is considered an addiction. No matter how people say, well, I'm a weekend user or I'm a casual user, if it's an illicit drug, then it is still something that people are addicted to, and no matter how casual or how frequent the use is, it is still an addiction. There are individuals who are addicted to unhealthy relationships. They can talk about, well, I feel appreciated, I feel loved, yet I feel abused. It is still an unhealthy relationship. There are individuals, men and women, who have grown up void of attention, void of people who pay attention to them, and they will allow themselves to be abused in what they know is an unhealthy relationship, because the other choice is, if I don't keep myself in this unhealthy environment, then I have no environment. So people will stay in what they know is emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically abusive and addictive because they have a need to belong. An addiction to electronic devices. And that brings us into the 21st century. There are people who can't go 2 minutes without checking their text messaging, without checking their email. they are lost without their iPad and iPhone and Android. And this can be an addiction. There are people who are addicted to overachievement. They must make the A+. They must make the A++. And at minimum, if they do not make the A list, then they see themselves as failures. So they are addicted to overachievement. There are people who are addicted to their work. Their work becomes their life, and their work becomes their status symbol, and they become addicted to it. There are people who are addicted to pleasure. They live for the weekend, but every day becomes the weekend. Every night becomes the girls' night out. Every night becomes the men's night out. Every night becomes the seeking for pleasure. And that can become an addiction. There are people who are addicted to domestic violence. This may sound strange, but there are people who actually do not know how to function in a normal environment. Unless they're being talked down to, unless they're being intimidated, there are individuals who actually have trouble embracing quietness, embracing tranquility, embracing peace. So they are addicted to chaos, addicted to confusion, addicted to unhealthy relationships. And there are other people who are addicted to being the abusive person, and they cannot function around people who want peace and calm. There are people who are addicted to money. Just like we started talking about addiction to power, there are people who are addicted to money. In fact, in the Bible, we're told that the love of money, the over-focus to the need for money, becomes the root of all evil. As we mentioned on yesterday, addictions may be put into a variety of categories such as substance addiction or process addictions, but never say that because there are only two categories, there are only two types of addiction. The list that I've just given you is not an exhaustive list of addictions by any means, but it's simply to show you how vast the possibilities are for individuals to be addicted to something. In the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 9 through 12, the Apostle Paul writes this to a city, a church in a city called Corinth, that had so many vices that it becomes almost impossible to list. But what he says among the Christians who came out of the addictions of the city of Corinth is, "Know ye not that the unrighteousness shall not inherit the kingdom of God? Be not deceived. Neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor effeminate, nor abusers of themselves with mankind, nor thieves, nor covetousness, nor drunkards, nor revelers, nor extortioners shall inherit the kingdom of God." And then he shuts it down by saying, "And such were some of you." He writes to a church, and he says to those Christians, this is what you were addicted to. This is what you were occupying your energies toward. This is what you were living for. And now you have come out of that. Well, what he's telling them is, now that you are out of that, stay away from it. Because the addictive downfall of every addiction is going to be about the same. And that's the destroying of the real person. I'll see you back in class again next time. Don't be late, and don't skip class.